Hello, welcome to another Parkinson's Walks Friday vlog. I hope you're all well out there. We've got a lot to get through today. There's exceptional comments, I have to say, this week. And I'm having a off day, so even a off day. So this could be interesting. Right, now before we get stuck in then, I'm sure a lot of you regulars are wondering about David in Spain with all the torrential floods they've had down that way, flash floods and what have you. And David is keeping us in touch, which is brilliant. Thanks, David. David and his family are all safe, although his sister-in-law is cut off in her village because of the devastation to the roads and the railways and communications and everything else. But anyway, all safe, so thanks for that, David. I'll start this Matters Arising then with actually David's comment from a week ago or 2 weeks ago, before all this started. No hint in here. And David wishes everyone good health, especially Ron's wife. Ron from Abandoned Railways, of course, his wife's been doing the chemo and she's got an 8-week break now, so she's not too bad. But yeah, come on, Debs, you can do it. Nothing to report stone-wise. Well, David's got a kidney stone. He was on sick parade last week. We had so many misfiring last week, we had to have a special sick parade. Oh. So it says, this is where we get on to the weather bit now, because David keeps us in touch with what's going on in that part of the world. We did get a sprinkling of snow last Saturday, he says, but it lasted as long as the sun took to get up from behind the clouds. I can't see the high mountain from our house, although we can just make out one of the peaks. This is because we're very near to the foothills. As soon as you get a couple of miles away, it all comes into view. I wonder if he could have seen it, whether he would have seen the black clouds all for me. Yeah, wow. Anyway, David's safe now. Let's move into the any other business. No, not the any other business. I tell you, I'm having an off day. Oh dear. Matters Arising. Malcolm Richardson. Excuse me. A great video of a magnificent museum. This was the Steam Railway Museum at Swindon. Lost my thread again. It says a great video of a magnificent museum commemorating a whole way of life based upon the technology of steam locomotion. Yeah, it is a good museum. And Paul from West Country Wanderings, who I wonder where he is at this minute. Some part of the country, I expect. He bombs around everywhere. And he enjoyed it, apart from hearing that so many of the Parkinsons Walks family are suffering ailments. Anyway, not too bad this week so far. We've got ailments, operations and accident injuries at the moment. I do hope all affected recover soon. Yeah, it goes for all of us. Right. Lionel and Mary travels. Lionel and Mary are putting out some good videos at the moment. The places they're visiting, sort of like National Trust type places, where everything is tended and looks beautiful. And yes, he's also done Lynmouth and Linton and the Valley of the Rocks. And what's the other? Waters Meet. Yeah, brilliant. If you've not been there, you look at Lionel's film and you'll probably end up going there, I should think. Right. Anyways, back to the Steam Museum. I visited back in the spring and I noticed a few things had changed from the time of our visit. The time of your visit, yes, of course. That film, when I filmed that, I think, was it 2013? It was certainly a while ago, wasn't it? And Lionel said, I didn't see that rail car, so that must have gone. And old Queen Victoria wasn't in her coach either. Oh. But she may have had to go to ladies before I passed by. You can't say that about Queen Vic. You'll be in the tower. Engage on a shelf, our Simon. If you're following his build of his railway, Engage Railway, you'll see that he'd gone on quite a way and then decided he didn't like it, took it all down and started again. Amazing. As well as playing golf now and again. And Simon says, I love a good church. I'm reminded of the gentleman who used to do readings from the Old Testament at Brockworth St George's Church. Old Harry. He loved putting the fear of God into people reading the juicy bits. Rest easy, Harry, says Simon. You were part of my youth. Lovely. Marilyn, what's Marilyn been up to? Very best wishes. Very best wishes to everyone with much worse conditions than me. Poor old Marilyn. Oh dear. Right now, Marilyn now picks up on a link going back to a previous video. I think it was Broadway. We were inquiring why the GWR always seem to plant pine trees at every one of their stations. It moves on. But Marilyn's husband always used to say the GWR planted Scots pines. It was so that passengers could find the station in the country and see it at a distance. Makes sense, doesn't it? At least you know which way you've got to go. Right, and now an inquiry from Marilyn. Has anyone read Adrian Vaughan's book, Signalman's Morning? It's one of Marilyn's favourites, so that'll be a good read then if you can get hold of it. I had a trip out this week, she said, via Stockport to Delamere, where the station has a wonderful cafe with extensive menu. That girl does like her cafes. I worked out that if I bought a ticket to Chester, 2 stops further on, I could get back on the train where I got off instead of making quite a long trek around to the other platform. A bit more time to enjoy lunch and get back the same train back. Sorry Chester, she says. I'm not lazy, just very slow at walking. Good old Marilyn, you got that worked out. Never mind trekking all the way around, just go up a couple of stops, jump on the next train coming back, and there you have it. Well done, well done. Abandoned railways are Ron then. Good morning, he says. Standing at the back for matters arising. We're on. He's standing at the back for matters arising to depart for Cheltenham and Deb's last chemo for 8 weeks. Brilliant. From old GWR forum, pine trees were planted as a GWR policy to help people locate rural railway stations. I guess that's still a useful feature for locating lost railway stations, isn't it just? Yeah. So there you are. That's an endorsement for Marilyn's husband. We do have an alternative coming up. Now, Michael from Poland, and here is the alternative coming up. Has merits. Greetings from Poland, he says. And in matters arising, pine trees at GWR stations and why they were planted there. My theory is because the station staff didn't have to brush all the dead leaves up in the autumn. Well, yes, there wouldn't be any leaves on the track either, would there? Because pine needles, yes, that's a good idea. And Barry backs that up, because Barry says pine trees marked out country stations and they made less mess than native deciduous varieties. My local Waitrose, very posh, has to employ somebody nearly 4 times to deal with the mess in the autumn from a single horse chestnut tree. So you can imagine why clean trees were a necessity. They've either got to employ somebody just to sweep the leaves up on that all the time, health and safety. Yeah, very good. Right, now, Jim Nichols, and they're in New Zealand. How are you doing, Jim? He thought the museum was very interested. And he said, I was born in 1940, just up the road from Lancing Carriage Works in Sussex. And they used to have an open day once a year, when we could go and gaze in wonder at all the work that went on there. I remember one time they showed off some double-decker carriages they had built, but as far as I know, they never went into use. Now, this is the beauty of this channel, because we got so many informed people who pop in and read it, that we get answers to things like that. And here from Philip Pankhurst, he said the bullet double-deckers built at Lancing were used. 2 4-coach sets were built and used on the Southern Railway, Charing Cross to Cannon Street to Gravesend line. They were a disaster. A bit like my reading, really. They were a disaster, he says. Uncomfortable, with appalling ventilation on the upper floor. The windows were fixed, so you couldn't get any air in. They took twice as long to load and unload passengers at stations. Double-decker, I suppose you can see why that might be. But my dear old mum caught one from Charing Cross, good old mum, to Gravesend during the summer in the 60s. Sadly, she had to go up top and fainted. She was helped out and left in a daze on a bench at Dartford Station. You can't do that. What? Just take her out, dump her on a seat and get out of there. You can't do that. Oh. She never travelled by train again. Oh my word. Well, Sharon Idle. I've been badgering Sharon to see what's going on about the book she's been trying to get published. And she says the book of over 250,000 words hasn't been going down very well with the 40 or so agents that I've contacted about it. Good girl, she's really trying, you've got to give her that. I think it's probably too big, she says. I'm probably going to have to end up self-publishing the book in 3 sections as 3 unique books, consecutive parts of the whole, on Amazon or similar next year. Yeah, wow. Well, you hear this story quite frequently, don't you, with authors. They go everywhere trying to get published and can't, and then suddenly somebody takes it up and it's a hit, and then everybody wants to publish something. Yeah, hang in there, Sharon, you deserve to succeed. James. Hi, James from Canada. You might remember he got knocked off his bike in the last vlog report, and we were all a little bit concerned, but he had no lasting damage, so that's good, which meant that we can now carry on taking the mickey out of poor old James with a clear conscience. He says, taking the mickey out of me has improved my outlook immensely. Thank you. With friends like you, he says, who needs doctors? I asked James, because he was away with the boys from his school at a regatta. I asked him how they got on. He said Boston went well. One boat, the 4, did very well. The other, an 8, let's just say at least they didn't hit any bridges or other boats. Oh dear. Ah, now, you will like this one without a shadow of a doubt. This is a very rare comment here from a farmer. Don't get too many of those, do we really? And it concerns a subject dear to all us abandoned railway seekers. And he says, as a farmer, we love making use of old track beds as farm tracks, and they usually do, yeah. They are fenced, and the bed itself has a good base and a sub-base. I remember as a child riding in my dad's Land Rover along the track bed between Haddenham and Sutton in Cambridge. Very soon after, the track and sleepers were removed. Nobody told us we couldn't, so that's the sort of excuse we use, isn't it? Getting off and onto the track bed at Haddenham meant driving along the platform and down the slope at the end of it. It was actually closed, wasn't it, Rick? Out the way. Oh dear. Oh dear. It was much quicker, he says, than driving between the 2 villages by road. Much direct. Oh, lovely. Thanks for that, Rick. Something that intrigues all us railway spotters, isn't it? So it's good to hear a point of view from a farmer. Right, now we're moving on to Leckhampton Church. This is my church experiment. They make a very easy subjects to film, so ideal. If no one's going to watch them, then there's no point. But yeah, the jury's out at the moment, but it's okay. It's going okay, and of course some of us are very interested. And here's Charles Patterson, all the way from the US of A, giving us his 2 penneth. And he says, as an engineer, the thought of being able to design something that could last a millennium is very humbling. Yes, isn't it just? Yes, you've got to build something to last 1,000 years. Wow. Back then, he says, they did not have the extensive materials knowledge of today. They just built large using the heaviest of materials. Ah, yes, good idea. The foundations of some of these old buildings intrigued me. It was just rocks. There wasn't any concrete pour. It was just big rocks. Dig a hole, put these big rocks in all over the place, and then build up off that. Amazing. He says, today we have determined down to the millimetre the available strength a material has. That's why our constructions look flimsy in comparison. Excuse me. The early builders had no idea how long their structures would last. Today things are built to just be strong enough for the interim, and often they don't really last as long as they'd hoped. Built on the cheap, you might say. And then it goes on to describe in the churchyard, comment on the churchyard, God rest all those souls who dwell within. I was taking note of the various ages, he says, who passed. Some, like Richard Purser, had a very long life, 111 years. Well done, Richard. And he said 111 by our standards, way longer than most today can hope to endure. But unfortunately, there were so many ranging from children to sons and daughters in their early 30s. Life was so much harder then. Yeah. Marilyn. How astonishing that Leckhampton Church is still very much on the outskirts of Cheltenham. Yeah, they're building in places around it, but they haven't quite filled in close to it yet. So it stands out there. I was amazed at the size of the churchyard, she says. It seems very well looked after, which is a great problem these days, and so many gravestones are laid flat now. Wonderful place for researching your family history. Do I sense a bit of melancholy there, Marilyn? I hope everything's well. West Country wanderings are Paul. Sat on a train, just arrived in Plymouth. What did I tell you about Paul? He's everywhere. He popped up in Bath the other day. I don't know whether you follow his films or not, but they're very well worth looking at for sure. I haven't been to that church, she says, but it has a striking resemblance to the one in Stroud, St Lawrence. Also has a decorated tower of the 13th century. I wonder if it had the same architect, the same builder. And the Victorian phrase, up till then of course it wouldn't have had, it would have been very ad hoc. Yeah, I wonder. Pete Payne, funny old places, churchyard, she says, but very interesting. My brother would have loved the VCs, and he may well have been there. He goes around searching them out, and it's taken him to some places, including Rorke's Drift in South Africa. Blimey. Yes, there's 3, I suppose. Isn't a very big number, but considering they didn't turf out many or award many Victoria Crosses, that could well be a high number. Yeah. Lionel and Mary Travels. He says, nice video, lovely church. Please note, all in uppercase, Mary hasn't been there. Everywhere I go, Mary's already been there. On this one, she hasn't, but she has driven past the place every week for about 15 years. I'm not sure if that counts as not being there or not. But anyway, Lionel says, so that one's up to you. What a crowded graveyard. It's slightly irreverent. When looking around, the one thing you don't want to come across is a tombstone with your name on it. Well, that's true. Very true, Lionel. David again, now. Yes. This is up to date now. A quick update David sent us. A quick update on the flood disaster. We are unaffected in Grenada. Other parts of the Andalusians toward Malaga and Cadiz have been. The main focus of attention is in the Valencia area and further inland. And then if you turn up David's comment, it gives you details of what it's actually like there and the damage that's been caused. I mean, railways have gone, broad gauge and high speed, roads have gone, communications are down. Well, I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures, but there's a chance to read it from somebody that's actually there, lives there. Brilliant. Thanks, David. Malcolm. Yeah, Malcolm Richardson. You can see why this might have been a very popular resort for the Victorian dead. Yes, apparently it was fashionable to be buried there, although, as I've said before, what good it does you, having been deceased, I have no idea, but anyway, it was fashionable. It's overlooked by Leckhampton Hill, and of course the Devil, yes, Devil's Chimney, the stack of stones which is always said to be the Devil's Chimney, isn't far from there. It says, the video is showing us why these ancient monuments should not be passed by, but visited and explored before we too say our final goodbyes. Not off just yet, I trust. Can't afford to lose subscribers, Malcolm. Barry. No, we won't do Barry, we'll do Michael. Michael from Poland. Says, greetings from Poland. I like this church very much. What a crowded graveyard. Dearly departed certainly won't get lonely. No, they won't. And Michael wonders if this holds the most VCs for a country church. Yeah, interesting point. Jim, down there in New Zealand. A historic building, an enormous amount of history represented in the churchyard which can be read on the gravestones. Now that most people are cremated when they die, there won't be that same record for future generations to look back on. Oh, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, right. Now Barry's going to finish us off with a slightly religious subject. Yes, Barry is bringing us up to a close. This week, he said, morning Ron, morning Barry. When I joined the army as a boy soldier at the tender age of 15 and a half, we were assembled for church parade. Roman Catholics were sent to the right, the Church of England sent to the left, but there was one boy remaining. The Sergeant Major quietly inquired what his religion was. The boy bravely declared, no doubt with his knees knocking, that he was an atheist. The red-faced Sergeant Major then bellowed at the top of his voice, "You are Church of England, get fell in." I had quickly learned the army did not accept no religion if it meant missing church parade. Evangelism, army style. Brilliant. Right, now, archive film in just a few seconds is on the Falmouth Maritime Museum, which was holding at the time a Titanic exhibition. I suspect that could be long gone by now. But anyway, a Titanic exhibition, which always gets the comments rolling, something like that. Oh, I can see the light flickering there. Well, that was fun. The battery decided to die on me with 30 seconds to go. Typical. Right, so I'll cut this bit in here, which is archive film. This week is a Titanic exhibition in the Falmouth Maritime Museum. Filmed quite a few years ago, so I'm not sure if it's still there now, but it was quite interesting, I thought. Right, so we'll be watching that in a few seconds time, and then next week, special treat. Mike, brother-in-law Mike, filmed the Beachy Head, which isn't Beachy Head, it's a locomotive on the Bluebell line for us. And this locomotive has been completely rebuilt. All they had to start with was the boiler, and everything else has been rebuilt from there. So that's a magnificent achievement. Well, it took them 20 years, but anyway, Yeah, we'll go and have a look at that next week. So I'll join you down the Bluebell next Friday. Don't be late. Falmouth, South Cornwall. And specifically the National Maritime Museum, with a rather interesting exhibition. I've never been here before. It's not that large. There's a main hall where they concentrate on these ships, boats. It's all very well laid out. Oh, lots suspended from the ceiling, and there's all sorts here, from power sail to rowing. That's power, kind of. A bit crude. They hang quite a few from the ceiling, and that's an old plank boat. Amazing. The flat bottom craft. Another view of the main hall. An Olympic sailing boat. 1968. It looks slightly complicated, doesn't it? Somewhat complex. I thought simplicity was supposed to be the answer. Look at that lot. And I trust that that thing had a stronger bulb in it when it was at sea. I guess it probably did. There's an exhibition here on Tony Bullimore, who, as you might know, got trapped in his upturned boat in the South Atlantic.
Boy, when I saw this ship, it was heaven, absolute heaven.
A lucky man. They have a workshop where they renovate boats and reconstruct boats. And in the side galleries, all things Cornish, as you would expect. Probably need those at a rough passage. You can always pause the video if you want to read more. Old Seagull outboard motor there, look. Wow. Powerful man in his day, no doubt. Right, cafe. Have a cup of coffee at this stage. And what you find here is you have a cafe with the most magnificent views. Lovely spot to while away a few minutes, see what's going on. And if that whets your appetite, then you can always go up into the crow's nest. high vantage point where the views just get better. Lovely old vessel. Lovely dock there. And you've got the old fortress and the new. I think someone said that's a swimming pool. Meanwhile, back at work. Lovely old working boat. And if height isn't your thing, we can cope with that as well, because you can go below water. Just follow me. Magnificent view of the old Coke can and a local. And thinking of things underwater and boats and things, the main point of the visit is none other than the Titanic. Well, not actually the Titanic, but some bits and pieces connected with it, such as bits from survivors and also from people that didn't survive. The timetable for the Titanic, which of course it didn't keep to because it sank. But the main exhibit is undoubtedly this, a full-size replica of a Titanic lifeboat, and it is enormous. Until you've actually stood and looked at it up close, you don't realise just how big it is. But I guess to hold 60, 70 people. A genuine Titanic lifeboat. And there's tons of stuff. Models. Posters. Links to films. Hadn't realised there were that many, to be honest. Clive Cussler. And the only bit that's actually come from the wreck itself is that. But you can't have everything. Wouldn't be complete, would it, without showing some of Cameron's Titanic, including, of course, the Heart of the Ocean diamond. Funny, I thought that got thrown away. Good taste, bad taste, well, you judge. But one thing's for sure, the Titanic will never be forgotten.